Hey, everybody. Well, the Brewers looked like things were heading in the right direction. And then the sixth and seventh innings came for Wade Miley, and there went the 3-game sweep. But still, the Brewers took 2 of 3, head on a road trip to Pittsburgh and New York. And we'll talk about that coming up here in a little bit. And 4 months left in the season. Where do the Brewers stand? We'll get to all that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Everybody, great to have you along here Memorial Day weekend. It is a late Sunday night, Monday morning in Wisconsin on Labor Day weekend. And I know, it's vacation land, Wisconsin. And I get that. And a lot of you are up north. I saw the traffic heading up north on Friday. But a lot of you are also at the games this weekend as well. So appreciate anybody who had a chance to check in with me here on a great Wisconsin Labor Day weekend. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. And yeah, the Brewers did take 2 or 3. They talked about how hot it was supposed to be at the game today, but I thought, it was fine. The Brewers do a nice job. They bring that roof in, so there's no direct sunlight really on most parts of AmFam Field. So we were sitting in comfort, weren't sweating behind home plate. It was a nice day to be out there. Now, wish the results were a little different. It was heading in the right direction until it wasn't. Brewers were 4-2 losers to the Philadelphia Phillies. 2 great games to start this series, come from behind fashion, and then they lose this one. Got off to a 2-0 lead on a couple of solo home runs, Will Contreras and Mark Canha. And Mark Canha has been continues to be a terrific pickup. But then came the 6th inning. Wade Miley was cruising along. Yeah, you get through 5 innings of not allowing a hit, you're starting to think a little bit about no-hit possibility. He's got a no-hitter to his credit. He had one when he was with the Reds. He beat Cleveland back in 2021. So really an old school pitcher, Miley is. He's not going to blow you away with that big old heater, but an old school guy out there, and really was doing a number on those great Philadelphia bats. And then came the 6th inning. They touched him for a run, and then back-to-back home runs in the 7th inning. Alec Bohm went deep, a liner that we all thought that was going to be off the wall in left center field, cleared the left center field wall. And the next batter, JT Realmuto, went yard for 3-2 lead. They added another run, credited to Miley, but it was off of Abner Uribe, and 4-2. The Brewers had chances. They had runners in scoring position in each of the last 3 innings, just could not capitalize. They had some chances. They had bases loaded earlier in this game. They left guys in scoring position, 0-for-6 with runners in scoring position. They out-hit the Phillies, and this is one of the few times the Brewers have lost when they have out-hit a team. They out-hit them 55-11. They dropped their record of 55-11 when they out-hit their opponents, I should say. They dropped the record. So the Brewers were 55-10 when they out-hit the other team. They dropped to 55-11, one of the few times. So only 11 times in 66 tries have they out-hit a team and lost. But it was a hitter's day out there. It really was. It was a day for the offense. When Will Contreras hit that home run, that one just kept on carrying in center field. Mark Canha's, I didn't think that was, I thought that was a routine fly ball to right. This, with the weather the way it was today, the way the atmosphere was, this could have been an 18-15 game. Really, if some of these guys would have squared up, like I said, Bohm's home run, that looked like it would be a line drive off the fence. The shot by Realmuto, just a blast, legit home run. They're all legit home runs. But I just thought there was a lot of soft contact from both teams throughout the day. There was not a lot of hard hit balls all day. And the ones that were hit hard decently, those ones carried out. So, yeah, I thought this could have been a real big day for the over 9.5 and the offense, but it just wasn't the case. And the Brewers lose. They drop 2. They win 2 or 3 in the series, and now they go on a road trip coming up here in a little bit. We're going to talk about what the Brewers have coming up here in a little bit, their next 6 games, and what they got coming up here in the next 4 weeks of the season. But I tweeted this out. I tweeted out the lineup today, and I said, man, it's just, and I'm not slighting these guys. It is what it is. But this lineup, you look at this lineup and you think, wow, how is this team in first base? Please. Canna leading off, batting 256. I like Canna in that leadoff spot, by the way. Contreras batting 283, batting second. Batting third, Santana 235, Adames 213, fourth. Taylor 205, batting fifth. Weimer 210, batting sixth. Caratini batting 241, seventh. Monasterio batting eighth, 267. Terang batting ninth and 220. Frelick, and of course, out of the lineup today, along with Yelich, who did pinch hit late in the game, but 2 of their better bats, of course, not in. But yeah, that lineup, you look at the lineup and say, man, that team is probably 15 games under the 500 mark. But when you have pitchers like Freddie Peralta winning pitcher of the month, Brewers had another pitcher win a pitcher of the month. In July, it was Corbin Burnes. And for August, it's Freddie Peralta. Would have been really crazy had Willie won it. Freddie Peralta won it. Went 5-0, won a 2.10 earned run average for the month of August. And they had their 8-game winning streak of 8 consecutive home wins snapped. The Brewers did. They had not lost a game since August 8th. Cubs won. Brewers stay 3.5 ahead of them in the NL Central. Nobody's going anywhere. You're not going to bury anybody. This is we got 4 weeks left in this season. We're going to talk about this coming up here in a little bit, an abbreviated edition on the weekend, the Labor Day edition of Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. And this show is brought to you in part by Sleeper. Sleeper is a terrific new sponsor right here. And they've been on board for about a month, 6 weeks or so. The MLB playoffs are right around the corner, which means the clock is ticking on your chance to 100 times your cash on daily fantasy baseball. Baseball's never been more exciting as it is right now with players like Acuna, Betts, Ohtani. Pick more or less on stat categories for these stars and others: home runs, hits, strikeouts, up to 100 times payout on Sleeper. Get your picks right, and you could win big. B-I-G, big. Hey, I know friends of mine who've got in on this, and they say, man, there's so many different categories. There's so many different fantasy categories to try on. I've gotten in on it. It was great. Won a little bit on Saturday. So you need to use the promo code Locked On and take advantage, like I did, of that $100 match for your first deposit. Terms and conditions do apply. But again, when you download the app, you sign up, go to use the promo code Locked On. You'll get a $100 match for your first deposit. Sleeper's terms of use, check them out, and it's all good because you have a chance to really parlay up to 8 different players and a chance to win real big. So download the app today. Use the promo code Locked On for that $100 match. That's with Sleeper, and you're going to love all the categories. Again, if you love playing fantasy, you're going to love all the categories. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Brewers get back at it, take on the Pirates on a first of 3 on Monday night. Then they go to New York. But that first game, Monday night game on Labor Day. I mean, Labor Day is supposed to be daytime baseball, but it's 5:35 of that first start. They have consecutive night games, 5:35 Monday and Tuesday, and then they have an afternoon game coming up on Wednesday. You get all the games on Sirius XM, the SXM app. Search Brewers. You can get all 162 of Brewers baseball on Sirius and Sirius XM. All you everydayers out there, appreciate it. Even if it's a weekend, Labor Day weekend, the Great American Wisconsin weekend. Thank you very much for joining me here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. You get us on Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all the downloads. Anywhere you get your podcasts, Locked On Brewers is there. Just search Locked On Brewers. We're the #1 Brewers podcast on the internet because of the great fans out there. Also, go to YouTube. Search Locked On Brewers. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that like button. and you're going to be subscribed to Locked On Brewers, and you will not miss an episode, especially as things are getting exciting here in September. Follow me on Twitter as well, Chuck Freeman, Freimund. When we come back, we'll talk about what's coming up with the Milwaukee Brewers next here on Locked On Brewers. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. Chuck Freeman, your host. Thank you very much, all you everydayers out there, for joining me on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. 4 weeks left in the season. 4 weeks, and the Brewers started off with 3 in Pittsburgh. The Brewers do have their top 3 pitchers pitching in this series. They have it lined up for Burnes, Woody, and Peralta. So you got those 3 at Pittsburgh. And then Burnes will probably come back in the Yankee series this weekend. So you got Pittsburgh, Monday through Wednesday, day off Thursday, and then the Yankees Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You know, the Pirates are still one of those teams that are going to be a spoiler. We know that from days gone by with the Pirates. They just relish that role of being a spoiler. So to say the Brewers, you like their pitching matchups, the Brewers have, you like what they have going on, but you never take anything for granted with the Milwaukee Brewers. We all know that, and especially when they're playing the Pirates. I mean, they can go in there and destroy them, or who knows. The Pirates are going to want to play spoilers. And the New York Yankees, well, the Yankees, they just swept the 3-game series from Houston. They did. So they're like 9 out in the wild card. They're a country mile out. It's going to be very tough for them. You know, they say all the right things, that they're in it and all that, and anything can happen. But, you know, they're starting to play the young guys. The Yankees are. They really are. They're starting to play the young guys, and they're trying to tee themselves up for possibly next year. But I think they know at heart. I think Brian Cashman knows they're not going to the postseason this year. And when the Yankees and the Mets, both teams from that town, are not going to the postseason, amazing. The big spenders in baseball. So you got this 3-game series coming up with Pittsburgh, the 3 with the Yankees. You come home next week. You start a 3-game homestand with a 4-game homestand with Miami. You got 4 with Miami and then 3 with Washington. Okay. Miami's fighting for that wild card spot. They're going to be tough. 4 big games. This is big for both teams. That series coming up a week from tomorrow, a 4-game set. That's going to be one of the premier series in the MLB for the month of September. Now, somebody could say, what, the Brewers in Miami? That series is going to be big. Yes, it is going to be big because both teams are fighting for something. Miami fighting to get in as a wild card. The Brewers trying to close out this NL Central. So, you know, later this month, they got to go to St. Louis for 4. They have to play Miami at Miami. They're going to see a lot of the Marlins coming up here, and they're going to see a lot of the Cardinals in the next 4 weeks. They have 7 games left, the Cardinals, 4 there, 3 here, and then they got to play the Cubs 3 games to finish off the season. And you know what? When that schedule first came out last year, and when even spring training, we looked at it, and I said, the Cubs, the final 3 games of the season, that probably won't mean anything for the Cubs. And the 3 previous games to that are against St. Louis. I thought, well, those would be huge games for the Brewers and Cardinals, because I figured, along with everybody else, that the Brewers and Cardinals are going to be fighting out for the division. But as it turns out, the Cardinals will have nothing to play for in that last week of the season. And the Cubs, if they keep playing the way they are, they and the Brewers could be fighting for a division title the final 3 games of the season. But I really like the way the schedule goes. I do. Get through this road trip and then come home and play Miami and Washington. And I think things are going to be looking really good. I have a good feeling. 3.5 games out, heading to the final 4 games of the season, 4 weeks of the season. You got Burnes, Woody, and Peralta coming up here in a little bit, and you're going to have to love. You have those 3 guys on the mound against the downtrodden Pirates, who, as I mentioned, are still fighters. I like my chances taking 2 or 3 there, at least taking 2 or 3. You might stumble, as we all know in baseball, that happens, but taking 2 of 3. Mark Canha continues to hit. I love him in the leadoff spot. I do. Leading off, put him anywhere you want. All right. And if he's going to spell Yelly in left field, if he's going to spell Santana at first base, that's good. But keep Canha in this lineup. Keep him in the everyday lineup. There's no doubt about it. He is a starting player and clutch player and a guy who knows what it's like to play September baseball. All right. Wish the Brewers would have hit more, done more, and didn't do enough. We'll talk about what's coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. We'll have shows coming up all this week. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. The Brewers and Pirates, a Labor Day night game. Geez, I don't remember them playing too many Labor Day night games, but 5:35 in Pittsburgh with the first pitch. You get on Sirius XM, the SXM app, search Brewers. You get all 162 Brewers baseball. So the Brewers game was not on TV on Sunday in Milwaukee on Peacock. It was. Bill Schroeder did make an appearance. I went to the game. If there was one game where you could afford to the Brewers not be on Bally Sports, this would probably be the one because, again, it's vacation land, Wisconsin. I know a lot of you were listening to the game on the radio or were out there today up north, and you were enjoying one of the summer's last hurrah, as we call it in Wisconsin, Labor Day weekend. So, you're out in the boat maybe or up in the cabin or wherever you were. I'm sure you were listening to the game, but the game wasn't on TV. But, that's just the way it goes. That's the way baseball's going. And there's going to be more of it in all sports too. You're going to see more pay-per-views and more buying into certain channels. And I think that's the way it's going to be. I just think this is, we missed a few games earlier in this year when the games were on Prime. I think it was it Prime or Yahoo? I don't remember, but it was a couple of Friday night games. We missed Amazon. I think it was, 2 or 3 games that we missed, but this is something we're going to have to get used to. And who knows where baseball broadcasting is going on TV. That is, you like to think Bally Sports is going to be, since it seems like they're going away, somebody's going to pick up the ball. And where broadcasts are next year, are they going to be on local network TV? Is it going to be a state network? Who knows? But we're going to have Brewers baseball on some form on TV next year. But that's something we're going to discuss, and we'll figure that one out in the off season. All right, that's going to do it for me. Chuck Freeman. Download us on Google, Spotify, Apple. Hit us up on YouTube. Search Locked On Brewers. Hit the subscribe button, hit the lock button, and by all means, follow me on Twitter, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. Kept it short, about 20 minutes today. Normally you do 30 minutes, but a 20-minute episode today, so we can move ahead and you guys getting out, in and out. Enjoy your Labor Day, and we'll talk to you coming up again on Monday night. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.